The podcast is called Principles of Success, and it started 2 years ago this spring. And it came as a result of reading a book called Leading While Female. And Leading While Female talks about the female educator's journey and how it's typically capped off at principal, director level, not really rising to the superintendency seat. And in that book, some data really stayed with me after reading it, and it said that about 24% of the superintendents across the country are women, but 6%, less than 6%, are women of color. And that data just, I don't know, it was hard to swallow, hard to think about. They're out there, they're doing great things. I'm one, I feel like I've done a good job. I know a lot. So I started to think about their stories and who was capturing their stories, and the Principles of Success podcast was born. And so each week I try to interview someone from across the country that's leading a school. I try to get women of color, so 90% have been, and that's what we do on the podcast.
What's next for the podcast? What do you see coming down, and do you have any stories of what it's led to, just asking about these stories?
Well, it's resonated with a lot of women. I'm amazed that people listen to it. That's first and foremost, and that they love hearing more about the stories than they do about the leadership strategies. So that's been really interesting. I thought it would be the other way around, but people have loved hearing that the humanity behind the people and the leaders. We've already held our first virtual conference last summer, so that was pretty cool. So we did that, and hopefully a YouTube channel coming soon. But mostly, I just want people to have awareness of the women that are out there, and hopefully bring up some more female leaders after they're being inspired by the stories that they hear.
What has telling these stories meant to you?
It has fed my soul. And when I say that, I don't say that lightly. When I started the podcast, it came at a time in my life where I wasn't really sure if I was staying with the district or leaving with the district, and it was a hard year overall. I started to question myself as a leader, and that was after 15 years of being a principal. And so every week when I interview these women, I feel like it's professional development for me. I feel like I can hear their passion and journey, and it keeps me going, because there's like-minded people out there like me, who want to do good and had a journey, had a story, had barriers they overcame, and they're doing amazing things for kids every day.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So this has developed a bit of community for you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a community that's underrepresented, and especially, like, we haven't highlighted stories from this community yet. So how do you see that community developing?
Well, I think it's building a network of people across. So now I have a new circle of sisters that I never knew about before, that are not just within arm's reach, but across the country, or to the Hawaiian Islands, right across the water. So it's been really cool. And I think it's created just awareness of people saying, oh, these should be future leaders. They do have an opportunity, and they should have access. Yeah.
That's great. So do you want to talk about what you're starting with your association?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you for letting me do that.
So tell me about this next journey for you.
Yeah, so the next thing is creating a space specifically for Asian American and Pacific Islander leaders. They are very underrepresented in education, but as they climb the ladder, even less. In California, where we are, there are associations for different racial affinity groups, but not for Asian American Pacific leaders. So CAPL was born, the California Association of Asian Pacific Leaders in Education. It was just launched last fall. We are a statewide association, and we look to advocate for AAPI students, but also build and grow Asian American Pacific Islander leaders to aspire to higher levels of leadership within education. It's very exciting. We've already tried to connect with other states who are looking to start their own, but people now feel a little more seen and heard when they have something like this out there.
Tell me what traction you've made so far with this association.
So far, it's been a lot of just awareness that we're out there. CALSA, the Latino Superintendents Association, and CASA, African American, as well as AXA, the State Administrator Association, all recognize CAPL, all see a need and are very supportive of us. So we've had some private corporations that want to sponsor us and be part of the movement. We have people who have already joined as members, and we're continuing to grow. We hope to have a one-day conference this summer. So it's just really exciting. I know for me personally, to this day, I've never seen anyone who's looked like me in a position higher than what I serve right now. I never saw anyone as a principal before. So for me, this is really important because representation does matter. And I think that's important.
Let's talk about where you're at today. Today we are at Katherine Johnson Middle School. How long have you been here, and what's this journey of being a principal here today?
So Katherine Johnson is in its first year of ever being a school, so it's pretty exciting. I've been here for 2 years. Last year I was a planning principal, pseudo 6-12 principal, and then this year we've taken the 6-8 and created our own school. It's fascinating. I'm in year 17 of being a principal and never opened a new school. And so I think it's really exciting to be on the front end. Usually we come in as school leaders into a school that's very well established and maybe trying to undo some systems and create new ones. But now we have a blank slate, and we get to think about what do kids need and want and really try to create that exceptional climate for everybody in the building and the community. It's a lot of pressure, but I feel excited. It's really exciting to do.
Yeah, so Katherine Johnson Middle School, named after an astronaut, right?
After a mathematician that helped the astronauts, yeah.
Right? Who, so we have this female STEM leader, really early pioneer. How do you feel connected to Katherine Johnson as a character?
Gosh, I never thought of it said that way, but I feel connected in that she liked to dream really big. And I feel like there were no limitations on what she thought was possible. And that's really kind of my mindset of anything is possible. It's just about the right timing of doing things. So I feel connected to her in that way. And I think even within our district, it's the first school, and we're a pretty large district, it's the first school to be named after a person of color. And that is pretty inspiring considering the community we serve, the leader that's here, the people that are in this building. It matters. It's important.
We talked a little bit last night about how social media has helped shape culture for you. How has that impacted a new school being formed?
Yeah, that's a great question because this is a different kind of year. All last year while we were planning, we were distance learning. We couldn't do the connections with community like we had hoped to be able to do. So social media allowed us to put the person, put the emotion behind the build of the school, show the people, show the work that we couldn't do if we were in person. So it started to tell our story from the very beginning, which is also exciting with a brand new school. We are an archival piece with all of our social media. It's starting from the very beginning. So I think it helps craft the story and help parents come to the school without having come to the school. We're taking everything about our school to them, whether they're on Facebook, Instagram, wherever. They can be part of our story with us.
Yeah, and you've also had students participate in social media program. How has that worked for you?
That's been amazing because you see the school through their lens. They are creating content based on what they think is cool to share or things that they're proud of, the values that they want to highlight. it's their voice represented without their actual voice, right? They're putting these things together. So I think that's pretty incredible. And teachers too. Teachers too are sharing content, and that's pretty exciting.
Do you see yourself as a pioneer in education?
Well, I'm going to say no.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say no, because there's probably 10 other people doing it better than me. But I do think I try to keep it new and fresh and innovative wherever possible. I think we have something to learn from everybody. So,
Anything else you'd like to share?
I would just say it's really important to tell your school story. I think it's undervalued incredibly, and I think it is one of the most, if not the most powerful thing you could do as a school leader. I believe we have to control the narrative for our school to build trust, relationship, connections, and pride. Like pride in your school, to love where you are. And I also think, how amazing would it have been to, when we were kids, have this archival thing that can live forever, to go back and see the memories and the connections. And we have such a powerful tool in our toolbox, and we should be using it as much as possible.